that. But with a population of 56,000, you know, you have the population of a small American town. It's not like it's, you know, it's basically like a territory named, it's like a city-state attached to a gigantic iceberg. You know, it's an extension.
Who's doing the inviting? You said the people.
A lot of people, yeah.
Isn't it a territory of Denmark? Isn't it considered a country? You can be a territory in a country, can't you? Kind of. Don't people consider Greenland to be a country? Yeah. I'm about to either embarrass myself or you guys so hard. Is Greenland a country? No. Fuck! All right, I don't want to talk about it. An autonomous nation in the Kingdom of Denmark. I don't want to talk about it. I'm upset right now.
People from Greenland are asking us to go there. We have many, many requests from many, many people, some officials too.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Greenland is confused about the Second Lady and the National Security Advisor visiting this week. They're concerned that this is further provocation, whatever it is you ultimately want for Greenland. Could you further explain why they're going? What is the ultimate end goal?
Yeah, well, not provocation. This is friendliness, not provocation. We're dealing with a lot of people from Greenland that would like to see something happen with respect to their being properly protected and properly taken care of. They're calling us, we're not calling them.
Right, right. Trump always references some unknown people to back his claim. Well, yeah, of course. I mean, he's like, he's a bit, not to engage in any, you know, slanderous behavior, but he is a little bit of a massive liar, if you can believe that. I think this is mostly about Russia. I mean, again, if you take a look at the Arctic, so we're fighting over control of the North Pole here, right? Basically. So if you take a look at the Arctic Ocean, everything on up here, and it's so weird looking at the world this way, huh? I know it's a very like maybe like an American-centric thing or like a Western-centric thing. You don't really think of the... I bet Russians see maps like this pretty often, because if you look at this map, Russia's looking pretty damn good, huh? Anyway, you know, America, we don't really have much of a claim to the Arctic Ocean except for Alaska. It's cold up there. I think the increasing pressure on Greenland is partly about securing fossil fuel resources, you know, offshore drilling, whatever, but also about securing oceanic routes that connect us to Russia. I mean, this is a Russophilic organization. And we are trying to push for Canada being the 51st state, which is outlandish, but if you think about it, if we did annex Canada and Greenland, we would essentially control the entire Arctic Circle. And the Arctic Circle is only going to get more valuable over time because of climate change. More of the ice is going to melt, which means that more usable land is going to be exposed. A lot of interesting stuff's going to happen up there. Oil. I think Trump just likes the idea of making the map bigger. Yeah, but Trump's not the one making decisions. Trump doesn't make any decisions, right? It's just a question of how much is a deliberate distraction and how much of it is being motivated by some like broader interest. And I think this is like a 50-50 thing. It's audacious enough to be a distraction. It's also something they would go for if they could. You know, Schrodinger's expansionist, but they're already allied with Greenland and have U.S. bases there. So, yeah, but how long do you think we're really going to be allied with Greenland? If the point here is to be in like an open alliance with Russia, how long do you think our friendly relationship with Canada and Greenland would last? How much do you think they would let us get away with? Right? Bannon made it pretty clear. Yeah, they have been talking about this. Canada's Arctic will be a tremendous vulnerability, Bannon said.
To be a key member of Donald Trump's inner circle, Steve Bannon, who suggested today that Canada should be grateful for a presidential proposal many in this country feel is an insult. He spoke to CTV's Judy Trin.
At America's biggest conservative convention.
This was the conference where Steve Bannon Sieg Heiled, right?
White House advisors wield props and power. On the sidelines, it's mega influencers who hold court. Among them, Steve Bannon, Donald Trump's former chief strategist, who says Canadians should be flattered that the U.S. president wants to annex Canada.
The Canadians should take that as the greatest compliment you've ever had.
Bannon says Trump sees the Arctic as the site of the next great power struggle. He says Russia and China may want to take control of the Arctic's valuable resources by force, and that Canada doesn't have the military might to defend the North.
If you think you can actually secure the Arctic to the degree you need to secure it against the Chinese Communist Party and the Russians and still have the rest of your defense budget and
This is like very classic protectorate logic, right? Like an expansionist empire says, hey, you know, the world's getting to be a dangerous place and you don't have the military necessary to defend the territory in your that you control. Why don't you become a protectorate? Basically, you become a vassal state to us. We'll lend you our military. All you have to do is pay us taxes. In effect, we're annexing you. You know, this kind of argument, the version of this argument has been around forever. We literally have NATO in Article 5. Yeah, well, that's how you know that he's lying, right? Canada is not under threat by Russia at all. If we're allies with Canada, Canada's own military weaknesses have nothing to do with us. Like, why would... It doesn't matter if Canada can protect the Arctic Circle, we're their ally. You don't have to annex a territory to be militarily allied with them. It's just a shakedown.
still make your commitments to NATO, you have not run the math.
Canada plans to spend nearly $40 billion to improve Arctic surveillance.
Anyway, the point is made. It's about resources. It's about control of the region. You understand. They're getting riled up over there in Greenland. I can't say I blame them, considering how much these threats have ramped up.
Min reaktion på det amerikanske besøg er flere ting. Så kan det her ikke ses uafhængigt af de udsagn og de meldinger, vi har hørt fra amerikansk side her rigtig startende i januar måned og frem til nu. To, så er det jo tydeligt ikke et besøg, som handler om, hvad Grønland har brug for, eller hvad Grønland ønsker at besøge udefra nu. Og derfor... Så bliver jeg også nødt til at sige, at det er et uacceptabelt pres, der bliver lagt både på Grønland og Danmark i den her situation, og det er også et pres, vi kommer til at stå imod. Man kan ikke lave et privat besøg med officielle repræsentanter fra et andet land. Et besøg i Grønland, hvor den fungerende grønlandske regering meget klart har sagt, at man ikke ønsker at have et besøg lige nu, fordi der ikke er en regering, så der kan ikke afholdes den type sådan, officielle møder. Og jeg har jo sagt flere gange siden 7. januar, at jeg og vi tager den her situation meget alvorligt. Præsident Trump er seriøs, og han er alvorlig. Han ønsker Grønland. Og derfor kan det ikke ses uafhængigt af noget som helst andet. Og derfor er det selvfølgelig, ligegyldigt hvordan vi vender og drejer det, et helt uacceptabelt pres, både på Grønland og de grønlandske politikere og den grønlandske befolkning, men det er det også på Danmark og dermed hele kongeriget.
You know, I know you guys are very fascinated by this language, but the content of the message is perhaps a little bit more interesting. The Trump administration sending, like, essentially unofficial diplomatic envoys during a time when they haven't formed their government because elections just happened. Like, that's a little bit odd, right? Just a little bit? I think they're serious, man. What are the chances nothing comes out of this? Well, I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. We live in unprecedented times. I would say, though, that they are ramping up the severity on this. Look, fascist governments need to be embroiled in a permanent state of crisis. You can't have a fascist government that's just like chilling, because the only way they can continue to revoke your political rights, revoke your civil liberties, like a tighten austerity, make your life worse, they need to have something to justify it. There has to be something going on. It doesn't happen in peacetime. You either create a war, right? Which would certainly be the case if they attempted to annex Greenland, even if it would be a very brief war, because Greenland can't really defend itself against us. And Trump literally threatened to add more soldiers to our military bases in Greenland. Did you guys see that? Trump literally, he was like, maybe we'll be sending more troops over there soon. It's really just a matter of, like, what they're willing to commit to. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not sure there's much that could be done to stop the U.S. from doing these things. Oh, no one could stop us from taking Greenland. Yeah, it's Greenland. That being said, it would probably be met with, like, a complete, essentially, like, blacklisting of the United States from the rest of the Western world. It would be, like, it would be so audacious, so insane. Like, it would be viewed worse than Russia annexing Crimea, because Russia was already understood to be, like, a dictatorial, fascistic nation with eyes on Ukraine, right? This would be so out of nowhere. I think it would probably be met with, like, tariffs and indefinite political isolation. At least I hope it would be met with that. Christ. Nobody's triggering a defensive clause with the EU. Nobody's triggering Article 5 against America. I just don't know how effective it would be at, like, mobilizing a fascist agenda at home, because all of America's real enemies would be a pain in the ass to fight. China would be a pain in the ass to fight. They're a massive nuclear-powered nation. Iran